Importance of mineral mixture in sheep and goat farming. Minerals are important components or the basic components that are needed or required by our body for better health and growth. In sheep and goats, these are the normal requirements. But when it comes to production, when there is need of meat and milk from them, when the animal is in production mode, the requirement still increases. So when it increases, it has to come from the feed material only. So the nutrition or the feed, it has to be very much adequate in those minerals that the animal needs for production. So sometimes it happens so in case of some diseases or if the climatic condition is changed, so the nutritional value of this feed or forages they decrease. In those conditions, the nutritional level decreases of the animal decreases and leads to deficiencies. To fulfill those, there should be proper supplementation of those minerals. So these minerals are minor dietary components. These are required in minimum amount, but they are fundamentally required more because it is needed for the functioning of the organisms. They are present in all body cells and they are needed to carry out the metabolic function of the body. So this mineral has to be got through the feed. So the balance of micro and macro minerals or the trace elements in those feed and fodder should be very adequate. So in those cases, we should know in which pasture the animal is being fed. The soil is adequate in those minerals or not. If not adequate, if the soil is not adequate or the forages are not adequate in those mineral requirements, then accordingly, mineral supplementation is to be done. These minerals, they are very important in the body of the animals. Minerals, they constitute of the skeletal structures like the bone, the teeth. They also help in maintenance of the body blood pressure and regulates the exchange of water through their acid-base balance. They keep the body pH neutral. They help to regulate the body processes by regulating the enzyme systems. They help in the nervous impulse transmission and muscle contraction. Generally, there are two types of minerals, macro minerals and trace minerals. Macro minerals or macro elements. These are required a large amount in the animal body, that is more than 0.01%. Macro minerals are generally important as they are the biological structure of the animal body is made up of those minerals. They have important role in metabolic processes and they participate in the processes that occur in the body of the animal. The macro minerals, they include the calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, sulfur, sodium, etc. First, we will go one by one about those minerals. We will discuss what the function of the mineral in the body of the sheep and goats particularly. Then why this deficiency is being caused, what are the deficiency symptoms they are coming, and how we can eradicate it or get rid of it through prevention and treatments. First, we will discuss about calcium. Calcium, as we all know, is the main part of our body, bone and skeletal system. It supports the muscle and protects the organ and all the bone marrow also. It is also the main component of milk, so it is required for the growth and milk production also. In case of use, the requirement for this calcium increases rapidly during the late pregnancy and also it becomes equal with the lactation. So in case of pregnancy and lactation, the requirement is increased. In case of goat, this calcium requirement is higher during pregnancy but increases more rapidly or abruptly after the kidding. Many times we see that the calcium is becoming deficient in the forages through the presence of components like oxalate. If the oxalate containing weeds are there, the oxalate will get bind with the calcium and not making available the calcium to the general body system. Many green cereal crops and some ryegrasses also make the same problem in calcium absorption. They also show the anti-vitamin D effect. So what are the calcium deficiency disorders? What happens when the calcium amount decreases in the body of the animal? First of all, we will see that in case of the lambs or the ewes, we will see in the young animals generally it shows the rickets, and in the older animals it will show the osteomalacia. Also, milk fever is seen in does and ewes. So this rickets, it can also be caused due to the deficiency of phosphorus. This calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, when they are working, they work in some synergistic way. So when one deficiency is there and we want to correct it, generally we give it in a synergistic manner. In case of this pregnancy problem, there is a metabolic disturbance where we see there is on hypocalcemia. What actually occurs in the latter part of the pregnancy, the requirement of calcium is more. But in those cases, if the requirement of this is not reached up to mark and there is hypocalcemia, in such cases, we will see that there is hyperexcitability, there is recumbency coma, and also leading to death. So in general, it occurs in case of the late multiple fetuses pregnancy. In those conditions, if you are being called at the doorstep of the farmer in the acute condition, then in those cases, you can give the carborol or Mifex or the combination along with the DNS. Also, if you want to supplement in the latter part of the gestation, you can prescribe oral magnesium and calcium and magnesium soft gels, which include vitamin D3 and zinc, and it will offer you a blend of these essential minerals in the body of the animals, thus which will not lead to the hypocalcemic condition in the latter part of the pregnancy. Generally, we advise the mineral mixture to be given whole throughout the pregnancy or in the normal animals also. If the animal is more in the pregnancy state or in the lactating state or the production state, then the requirement should be more. So these are some pictures of post-parturient hypocalcemia occurred during the calcium deficiency in the latter part of the pregnancy. Also, one picture is of rickets and another is of osteomalacia. Next mineral is phosphorus. Phosphorus, along with calcium, it also helps in the bone formation. It helps in the change in the bone structure and the composition. While the mineralization process occurs in the bone formation, phosphorus is one of the important component. Also, it is helping in the energy metabolism, acid-base balance. It is also component of enzymatic reactions occurring in the body. Generally, if there is a deficiency of phosphorus, the appetite of the animal decreases and the depraved appetite leads to pica. Pica is the condition where the animal gets to lick inanimate objects, which is not usually the feed or fodder of the animal. They will start licking it and chewing it. Also, we can see the reduced growth and reproductive disturbances also. Abnormalities of bone can be seen and depression in the milk kid is seen. The pictures showing the poor growth in sheep. Bone abnormalities is seen in the second picture where you can see the a bit tilted, and pica is shown where the animal is eating something not edible. So in those cases, phosphorus deficiency, we can give tonophosphan. It can be given along with the calcium and magnesium supplementation. Then the next component is magnesium. It is also a bit related mineral to the calcium and phosphorus. The normal functioning is in the transmission of the nerve impulses, nucleic acid and glutathione synthesis needed in our normal body metabolism. These sheep, they need a continuous supply of magnesium because they are not able to store it, and it needs it for their normal day-to-day metabolism. But goats, they can a bit compensate this loss, and they will decrease the excretion of magnesium in the body of the animal, and so as to they will a bit compensate. But the sheep, they will need a continuous supply. In case of deficiency of this mineral magnesium, we get a condition known as hypomagnesemia, where it is common in the 4 to 6 weeks after lambing. Just after lambing, this hypomagnesemia is seen, where we can see the animal showing uncoordinated walking, trembling, or recumbency. All these conditions can be seen, and while diagnosing, you will see that the animal has just parturated, and this is showing this trembling and recumbency condition. In those conditions, Maxell powder is advised, or we can give 10 gram of it daily in the latter part of the pregnancy or just after the pasteurization also in the lactation period. So in those conditions, we can see this disturbance of locomotion in those animals, sheep and goat, and the grass tetany or the hypomagnesic tetany in sheep and goat. Then another macroelement, it is known as sulfur, which is also a main part of the tissue proteins. In goat, the sulfur containing amino acids are important for protein synthesis and generally and then in the milk and the hair production. In sheep, sulfur is required for proper development of protein, cartilage, bones and tendons. So it is an integral part of the body development. But in that case of deficiency, in case of goat, we will get some poor performances or it will not grow, and there will be hair loss, there will be excessive salivation, tearing of the eyes, weakness. In case of sheep, in this deficiency, we can see reduced appetite, weight loss, hair loss, weakness, excessive lacrimation, cloudy eyes, profuse salivation, dullness, emaciation, and death. So these are the picture of profuse lacrimation in the small animals, profuse salivation, and cloudy eyes seen in case of the sulfur deficiency. Next, we go for the sodium and chloride. Sodium chloride, it seems that it is a normal component, but it is a very essential component for both sheep and goat as it maintains your fluid balance. Also, it helps in the nervous transmission and muscle contraction. It also helps the goat to maintain a healthy appetite and good body weight. They maintain your osmotic pressure. The normal body osmotic pressure depends on this. These ions are very important for the acid-base equilibrium and control the water metabolism in the body. Generally, we see the forages, they can be poorer in those components. Sometimes they are richer, sometimes they are poor in sodium, but sometimes they are richer in chloride component, but poor in sodium component. Generally, the pastures, they are providing the chloride component naturally, but they can be more enriched with the help of outside fertilizers or fertilizer application. Grains or plant proteins are sometimes poor source of sodium, but root crops and root byproducts, they will be rich in sodium. In case of deficiency of goat, there will be reduced appetite, reduced water intake, weight loss, reduced milk production, and pica, that is eating of that unwanted objects. In case of sheep, in NaCl deficiency, we see a haggard appearance and there is craving for salt, polydipsia, polyuria, inappetence, pica. There will be difficulty in rising and moving. There may be emaciation and dehydration. So salt formulations, they are also the carrier for trace minerals because the goats have a drive for this sodium intake. They will take the salt and along with if we have incorporated other minerals, then they can also take that. This salt is generally advised every day with the feed. When you are giving the feed, along that you can put some salt. So that intake, it goes into the body of the animal regularly. And salt licks, moreover, can be put in the grazing areas where the animal can lick it and for a regular intake. So these are some pictures where there is pica and there is emaciation of the animals and they are eating inanimate objects. Then potassium. It is another important component where your sodium potassium ATPase pumps are needed in your body metabolism, and to maintain that membrane potential is a very important component. It is associated with your nerve and muscle physiology. When your normal muscle is working in your day-to-day life or normal nerve is working for functioning of your body normal functions. Potassium is also required for the protein synthesis and cell growth. It also helps in the osmotic pressure and acid-base balance. In the deficiency, there is reduced appetite, poor growth, muscular weakness, stiffness, paralysis, and intracellular acidosis. This picture shows the stiffness in goat and poor growth in goat and the muscular weakness due to the potassium deficiency. So now we go for the other component, that is the trace minerals. Trace mineral, they are also needed, but it is more lesser quantity or micro quantities is needed. In these trace minerals, they are essential for health and immunity, growth and production and reproduction as well. These are important because they act as a cofactor of those enzymes which is needed for the immunity of the animal. They are copper, cobalt, iron, manganese, iodine, zinc, fluoride, molybdenum, etc. So these are the trace minerals which have the role in the immune system. So when the immune system is concerned, it has got T and B cell responses, which has been regulated by copper. And also the selenium helps in this your neutrophil migration, bactericidal activity, reduction of inflammation, antibody production. Manganese also helps in T and B cell responses. It enhances macrophage killing ability. Zinc helps in the leukocyte damage, superoxide radicals, lymphocyte proliferation, and cytokine production. As well, your chromium also helping in immunity by decreasing cortisol, increasing insulin and IGF-1 during stress. So these minerals are working in a coordinated manner to give you the immunity. Immunity is the thing which helps us not to get ill. When we are not to get ill, our immunity should be strong. So in a nutshell, we need the normal minerals in normal amount to not to get ill or be well, be healthy for a better production or better productive life. So first we are going for copper. Copper, it is needed for your body, bone and wool growth, pigmentation, healthy nerve fibers and white blood cell function. So also it aids in your cellular respiration, connective tissue development and catalytic factor of metalloenzyme helping in your body metabolism. But when there is a deficiency, that leads to reproductive disorders. What are reproductive disorders? This when there is deficiency of this generally COFAQ or your copper, cobalt, and iron, there is decreased production rate or the reproduction rate. Generally, the animal are becoming anistrous and not coming to heat. And the period after the conception or after lactation, it increases and causing loss to the farmer. So these components should be very adequate in the body of the animal for the animal to come to the next cycle. In case of copper deficiency also, this gestating goats, they will give rise to aborted or mummified fetus, and hemorrhagic placenta and necrotic lesions are also found. So this low level of copper is occurring due to the copper deficient soil, or another concept is that if there is more amount of iron, molybdenum and sulfur, they will bind out the copper and make the copper unavailable to the body of the animal. As a result, there is low copper level in the body of the animal causing its deficiency. When there is deficiency of this copper, it may give rise to swayback condition, poor wool quality, poor bone mineralization. Also, in the sheep, it causes your embryo loss, inhibits that embryo implantation, leading to fetal death. In case of sheep, also you can see the muscular weakness, and copper deficiency in the gestation causes many other problems. So this is the copper deficiency. This picture shows the muscle weakness occurring due to copper deficiency. Swayback, where the animal is swaying out. Ataxia, the animal is not able to balance itself and falling down many times. And here we can see the loss of pigmentation in black sheep. The next mineral is cobalt. Cobalt is required for vitamin B12 in the rumen metabolism, for energy metabolism and red blood cell production. It also occurs when there is interference in the vitamin B12. The absorption is vitamin B12 is not proper, so it leads to the copper deficiency. It shows the symptoms of anemia, scaly ears, weepy eyes with damp matted wool. Also, it leads to a condition known as ovine white liver syndrome, where the animal is showing nervous symptoms. It shows depression, head pressing, and aimless wandering. The goat kids, if on low protein diet, there is more chances of hepatic lipidosis or the fatty liver. These cobalt deficient sheep, they fail to respond to the vaccination and become more susceptible to the clostridial diseases or pulpy kidney or pasteurellosis, and the affected ewes will give rise to smaller lambs. So these are the pictures where the ill-shaped or the less grown or a lesser grown this sheep. This shows the weepy eyes with the damp matted wool, and here we can see the white liver disease and scaly ear in case of goat occurring due to cobalt deficiency. Next is the manganese. It functions along with the enzymes like galactotransferase, glucosyltransferase for normal growth of the cartilage and bone. The normal growth and development for the mucopolysaccharides, glycoproteins are dependent on this component of mineral. Blood clotting, which needs prothrombin via the glucosyltransferase and vitamin K, is also dependent on this manganese. Lipid and glucose metabolism is also dependent on this. So we need that this manganese component should be very proper so that the animal is showing no normal growth and reproduction. In the deficiency of this manganese, there is tremor of the tongue, ataxia, muscle tremors. We can see the impaired growth and reproduction and reproductive problems like reduced estrus behavior, or it is coming to estrus in a non-regular manner or a delayed manner, irregular estrus cycles, low conception rate and abortion. Also, we can see the skeletal abnormalities like weak legs, enlarged joint, stiffness and twisted legs, and reduced bone strength in the young animals. Sometimes we can also see tongue rolling. So these are the pictures of abortion, and these joints, you can see the enlarged joints and these twisted legs in its deficiency. Next component, important component, zinc. It influences the enzymes and proteins and their activities, being linked to the vitamin A synthesis, carbon dioxide transport, collagen fiber degradation, free radical destruction, membrane stability of the red blood cell, metabolism of essential fatty acid, nucleic acid, carbohydrate, protein synthesis. It also helps in maintaining the epithelium of the reproductive organ. In its deficiency, we can see conditions like weakness, inappetence, loss of body condition, pityriasis, or this is a growth of a yeast, thickening of the skin, formation of dry scabs, rough hair coat, parakeratosis, stiffness of joint, smaller testicles, and lower libido. It is affecting the reproductive events. In case of males, it will affect spermatogenesis, primary and secondary sex organs development. In females, it is affecting in all the process of the all the phases of reproductive process, including embryo implantation mostly. Here are the pictures which show the dry scab in the leg of the animal, parakeratosis, alopecia, and tyriasis. Here you can see the yeast. It is some type of yeast which is growing and showing a pigmentation on the face of the animal. It occurs due to the zinc deficiency. Next is iron. Important mineral. It is a component of the heme as present in the hemoglobin or myoglobin. Both the components are needed for your oxygen transport from lungs to the tissue, and the proper functioning of enzymes like electron transport chain, cytochrome oxidase, ferredoxin, myeloperoxidase, catalase, all the enzymes are dependent on iron. It is needed for energy metabolism in the tissue of the anemia. Generally, the deficiency causes the anemia, the hypochromic and microcytic anemia, due to the lesser amount of hemoglobin production, because iron, it is the important component of this hemoglobin. When the iron is less, the appetite and growth will be less. Increase, and when the appetite is less, the growth is less, and the animal is not eating. So it goes to increase the disease incidence due to impairment of the immune function. It is seldom seen in case of mature growth, generally more seen in case of the smaller animals, and it will be showing lower birth rate, and lower content of iron in the dam's milk will lead to this deficiency in the smaller kids. And moreover, if there is a parasitic disease infestation also, we can see this anemia. Prevention, this is the picture of the anemia where we can see the mucous membrane, and this is the anemia guide. It is matching with the color, where the conjunctiva, it is showing the color which is matching with that. Iron deficiency, it can be prevented by access to the pasture with a good quality trace mineral salt containing iron. We can give it. In case of severe cases, we can give iron dextran injections in the first 2 to 3 weeks interval, and this after some time it can be curative. In case of mixed, you can see many times the mineral deficiencies, they are not a single mineral deficiency. Many times it will be multiple deficiencies. In case of mixed iron and selenium deficiency, caution should be given when we are giving only iron dextrans, because we should see that the selenium deficiency is also corrected, and then only we can give the iron dextrans, else it may cause some problems. Iodine, as you all know, it is a very important component. It is linked with the thyroid gland, and it is linked with the thyroid hormone synthesis. It is needed for the normal energy metabolism and reproductive function. It is needed for normal growth and development of the fetal brain, lungs, heart, liver, all the body components. So it is needed when it comes to the survival of the kid or the lamb. This deficiency, it occurs in the newborn kids or the lamb. This deficiency makes the newborn kid or lamb, the small animals, very susceptible to cold and wet weather, because the immunity is being decreased. Also, it causes a very big deficiency of iodine, which causes lack of thyroid hormone, and as a result of which the body or the thyroid gland, it will try to synthesize more and more iodine, because there is deficiency. The body will try that more iodine is being synthesized. In that process, the thyroid gland follicle will get enlarged, and there is enlargement of the thyroid gland, and the condition being known as goiter. So for this condition not to occur, we have to prevent or treat it by iodine supplementation to the use. It depends on the region and the seasonal conditions in the sheep. In case of goats, they have higher requirement for the iodine, and it is a standard recommendation that in case of pregnancy of the goats in the high rainfall areas, the supplementary iodine should be given sometimes twice during the last months of the pregnancy. So these are the dead fetuses and underdeveloped fetuses, and here we can see clearly the goiter condition where the thyroid gland is being enlarged in the 2 of the cases in sheep and goats. It occurs due to your iodine deficiency. Selenium, much important mineral. It is a major component of many selenoproteins, DNA, and protect the cell from damage and infection. Selenium, it works along with vitamin E and prevents the cell damage and also repairs the cell damage. It has got very important role in immune function and very vital for growth and reproduction. The sheep, they are predisposed to selenium deficiency when grazed on selenium deficient soil and lush and rapidly growing pastures and legume dominated pasture or paddocks with superphosphate fertilizer. All this condition leads to deficiency of selenium in the forest itself. And when the selenium, lesser amount of selenium is being consumed by the goat or the sheep and is good to the body of the animal, it causes this deficiency of this component. Generally, vitamin E is also linked with the selenium, and vitamin E deficiency also occurs side by side when in case of the selenium deficiency. When the selenium deficiency occurs, so we will see the decreased body weight or ill-trait, the decreased wool production, decreased fertility of the ewe, decreased response of immunity, white muscles disease, poor growth and development, stiffer gait, back is arched, lameness is also seen, and there is reluctance to move. The animal doesn't want to move, and sudden deaths are also seen. It causes the tissue damage, which leads to increase in the enzyme like aspartate, AST, and CPK. Due to these values, we can also know the condition. And also there is the white muscle disease in lamb born due to the selenium deficient use. So early diagnosis and treatment is necessary for this deficiency. If we are with the help of a veterinarian, we are able to diagnose selenium or vitamin E deficiency by collection of blood or postmortem samples. If any deaths have already occurred, then we can know the deficiency is there and we can supplement it with those components. So these are the pictures of white muscle disease and white lamb disease occurring due to selenium deficiency. These lambs are very weak and very brittle and are not efficient enough. Another component, molybdenum. It is also an important component with several oxidase enzymes like xanthine oxidase, sulfide oxidase, aldehyde oxidase. So it is an important component which leads to deficiency in form of your Pearce course, or that is diarrhea is seen. There liquid feces will be there which will be containing much of the glass bubbles. Depigmentation is seen, or coloring portion is being lost. Pica, unthriftness, and anemia is seen, microcytic hypochromic type, emaciation, and joint pain, which is characterized by lameness. The animal doesn't want to rise. So in the sheep or the particularly the lamb which are a bit less age, they are affected due to the stiffness of the back and the legs, and they have difficulty in rising. So this is known as angiotic ataxia or swayback, which is caused due to molybdenum deficiency. This is the lameness and diarrhea seen due to molybdenum deficiency. We can see the emaciated animal also due to the molybdenum deficiency. Another component is chromium. It is rarely seen in animals, but it decreases the body fat stores, blood nepharables. It increases the muscle in sheep and goat, stimulates fatty acids and cholesterol synthesis. It is important for brain function and other body processes. It helps in insulin action also. It leads to impaired glucose tolerance, hyperglycemia, but it is less seen in case of our animals. So we come to know that there are some components of minerals which are required for the body of the animal for normal functioning. So generally, in case of goat and sheep, 10 gram per day per animal per day. Or in the smaller animals, 5 gram per animal per day, we will be advising, or as directed a veterinarian, if he could have seen some deficiency in the feed or fodder or the soil condition of the area in which the animals are being there. So these are some components, mineral mixtures available in the market. This is containing all the components, all the trace minerals in them. This is sheep min is there, goat mineral is there, some other components like chelated minerals. This minacam is there, optimate, vet mantra, goat mineral components. And these are the macro mineral ones. As we have discussed in the starting of the talk, macro minerals, they are needed in case of your hypocalcemic conditions. We can give you your carborol. First one is carborol, then it's Mifex or magnesium supplementation, then tonophosphorin or phosphorus supplementation. Also, if you are giving the general for all throughout the time, so you can go for this calcium magnesium gels. They can be given for a preventive measure. We can give calcium can be given. Also, in case of deficiency of this copper, iron, and cobalt, There is lead to reproductive disorders. When you have been presented with animals having reproductive disorders, any stress, late coming to heat, so you can first you should go for the mineral supplementation is okay or not. What is the mineral content of the animal or how much the mineral is there. So first we go for this mineral supplementation. Proper mineral supplementation should be there. Also, then we can go for the hormonal treatment afterwards. But generally, in the reproductive, the first line of treatment goes with the mineral supplementation. Also, some ethno-wise, we have seen that people are advising moringa leaves containing iron and a bit of calcium. So these can be also given as supplements in case of your disorders. These minerals, they are the supplemented ones to given to the body of the animal. But the soils, so whatever the salt sources you are designing and whatever the salt sources you are thinking to give, it should be properly designed for each animal species. It is not that you will have a one standard and it will be given for all the animals. It's not like that. For proper each species, it has to be designed, and you have to decide which thing is to be given as per the conditions availing. The animal which you are giving the mineral, it should be palatable for the animal also. The animal should consume it properly, and it should be balanced mineral component according to requirement of the animal. The balance of these minerals is needed because sometimes one mineral is affecting the absorption of another mineral. So we should be very much aware about the functionality of the animal minerals which can be absorbed very properly in the body of the animal. In the animal nutrition, it should be done rigorously, and we should see which stage of production it is. If it is lactating animal, or if it is in the pregnancy stage, or if it is a normal animal. Accordingly, we should decide which mineral component is to be of which amount should be given to the animal. The presentation of the minerals should be done in a proper manner by the veterinarians, and other components, deleterious components, are to be avoided. So mineral supplementation should also be done to the soil and diet analysis also, because the soil, the feed and the fodder, they depend on the soil. After the feed and the fodder, it is being consumed, it goes to the body of the animal and ultimately goes to the milk or meat of the animal, which is ultimately going to the society in form of food. So if we are having the perfect mineral combination in the feed fodder itself or in the body of the animal itself, the meat or the meat products which comes to the human, it will be proper, having the proper mineral supplementation, which will ultimately give you good health and good growth in the our kids or in the human population also. So this mineral supplementation, it also has to be adjusted in a monetary wise also, because our farmers should be able to give it in a very, it shouldn't put any financial stress on it. It should be given with a reasonable price also. Also, another important thing in mineral supplementation should be always guided that it shouldn't be toxic. As we always say, the anything, it can be toxic when it is given in more in amount. Many of the minerals are toxic if it is given in more manner. Like your selenium is there, it will lead to selenium toxicity. Any component, it should not go such a higher level that it will cause toxicity in the body of the animal. It has to be guided. We should be giving it only to the level of it's a normal requirement, which will help it in own body growth and later production, reproduction, and then production of the animal. So these minerals are the important item in the animal nutrition, because all the body metabolism, body chemical processes are dependent on our minerals. So macro minerals, as we discussed, like calcium, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, sulfur, and sodium and chlorine, they are very important, and they have to be given. All the minerals have to be given along with the veterinarian perspective only. You see and get the guidance of a veterinarian. After that, only the farmer should give the supplementation. Micro minerals, they are more fundamental, more needed. They should be given on a daily basis for preventive measures, and it should be are given in smaller amounts also. But when in absence, these are causing deficiency. So the farmer should be able to recognize what symptoms are coming and what deficiency it may be. Because if the farmer is recognizing those deficiency or those symptoms, it can he or she can present it to the veterinary doctor or veterinarian or whatever help he or she has nearby. And by seeing or by the representation of such a case, the veterinarian can help or guide them for a proper supplementation of minerals, which will be given to the animal for better growth and efficiency of the animals, leading to more beneficial results to the farmer. Thank you.